My 22F sister has spent years stealing my possessions, sabotaging my achievements, and being enabled by my parents at every step. Now she's demanding I hand over the $400 dress I bought for my dream job's welcome reception, threatening to ruin everything if I don't. Am I wrong for finally standing my ground? Hello, everyone. I'm here today to share a story that has consumed my life, a deeply personal struggle within my family centered around my sister, Susan. I've observed many of your discussions, but recent events have compelled me to speak out. Please bear with me. This narrative is extensive, and I confess I'm trembling as I type, partly from indignation, partly from apprehension about the repercussions if my family discovers I'm seeking external advice. I'm a 22-year-old woman, recently graduated, and now embarking on my dream career with a leading technology firm. Everything seemed to be falling into place. My university years were dedicated to academic excellence, culminating in a 3.9 academic average and a partial scholarship. My current role was secured after navigating several rigorous interview stages. This organization is renowned for its supportive atmosphere and considerable opportunities for advancement. After enduring years of walking on eggshells at home, I was genuinely thrilled to begin this new professional chapter. The company's welcome reception for new employees is scheduled for tomorrow evening. It's a formal affair designed for new hires to connect with senior leadership and team managers. Numerous influential figures will be present, and it's widely regarded as a pivotal networking opportunity that could significantly influence my career trajectory within the company. I dedicated months to part-time work, diligently saving enough to acquire the appropriate attire. The dress I chose is professional and elegant, not extravagant. It represented a $400 investment, countless hours spent tutoring, and working weekend shifts at a local coffee shop. My parents, both 45, offered no financial assistance, which, frankly, was unsurprising, given their consistent preference for my sister. Susan, now 24, has always been the favored child. She currently finds herself unemployed, having dropped out of college twice. Her days are largely spent attending parties and engaging with social media, while our parents readily cover all her expenses. They've funded thousands in shopping sprees, high-end gadgets, and even a car, which she promptly wrecked within 3 months. In stark contrast, since high school, I've had to work various part-time jobs to afford even basic necessities like school supplies and clothing. This glaring disparity in treatment began early. When I was 5, my aunt gifted me a small art set for Christmas. Susan reacted with a violent tantrum, prompting my parents to confiscate my gift and hand it over to her, despite her having received other costly presents. They instructed me to learn to share, claiming Susan was more sensitive. This incident, sadly, set the precedent for our entire upbringing. Throughout my childhood, Susan frequently unleashed temper tantrums whenever I received anything positive. At age 12, I triumphed in a school science competition. Instead of celebrating my achievement, Susan had a complete meltdown, feeling she wasn't receiving enough attention. My parents' solution? They removed my prize and certificate to prevent further distress for Susan. They even forced me to skip the award ceremony because Susan couldn't bear to see me on stage. This destructive pattern persisted. Any success or joy I experienced was perceived as a threat to Susan's emotional equilibrium. As we grew older, the situation deteriorated further. Susan habitually appropriated my belongings without asking: clothes, books, electronics. Nothing was sacred. If I objected, my parents would admonish me for being selfish and insensitive to my sister's feelings. They would utter phrases like, "Susan is sensitive and needs extra support. You're stronger, so you must compromise." When I acquired my first smartphone at 16, purchased with my tutoring earnings, Susan immediately demanded it, citing her own phone as outdated, despite it being only 6 months old. My parents compelled me to exchange phones with her. Incidents like these were numerous. Susan would resort to physical aggression if she didn't get her way. On one occasion, she pushed me down a flight of stairs when I refused her access to my laptop for a social media broadcast. I suffered a sprained ankle, but my parents never took me to the hospital. Instead, they instructed me to remain in my room and avoid further antagonizing Susan. Another time, my mother struck me across the face at a family gathering because I was receiving more accolades for my academic accomplishments. My parents pulled me aside and reprimanded me for showing off and upsetting Susan. The emotional abuse was, in many ways, more damaging than the physical. Susan frequently asserted that I was unwanted, that our parents had conceived me solely to provide her with a sibling. She ridiculed my appearance, disseminated false rumors about me at school, and actively sabotaged my friendships. At 15, when I had my first boyfriend, Susan falsely accused me of infidelity, even fabricating screenshots of bogus conversations. He ended our relationship, and when I confronted Susan, she merely laughed. My parents' response? I should never have started dating, as it made Susan feel lonely. Through all of this, I learned to keep a low profile and immerse myself in my studies. My aspiration for financial autonomy was my driving force during the most challenging times. I abandoned any expectation of support or validation from my family. I even planned to move out the moment I started earning, hoping to finally escape this toxic environment. I buried myself in academics and extracurriculars, doing everything possible to avoid being at home. During college, I harbored a belief that things might improve, living in the dorms. However, Susan would frequently appear unannounced, demanding money or clothes, and throwing tantrums if I declined. My parents would call, criticizing me for neglecting my sister, despite her being the elder sibling. They even attempted to coerce me into dropping out after Susan failed her classes for the second time, arguing that it was unfair for me to complete my education, while she could not. But yesterday, everything reached a breaking point. Susan and my parents stormed into my room an hour before I was scheduled for final adjustments to my dress. She declared she needed my dress for an upcoming job interview. When I refused, she erupted, screaming about my arrogance for having a job before her, how I was deliberately trying to make her look bad, and how I'd always been a selfish, attention-seeking child. My parents, predictably, sided with her. "Your sister needs this more than you," my mother stated, employing that familiar guilt-tripping tone I've grown to despise. "She has interviews, and this garment would significantly boost her confidence. You can simply wear something else to the celebration. Why must you always be so difficult?" I attempted to explain the significance of this event to my career, how I had saved for months to purchase the outfit, and that this was my sole opportunity to make a positive initial impression at my new workplace. But my father interrupted me, his face crimson with fury. "Stop being so difficult," he snapped. "You understand how challenging this period has been for Susan. Why do you always have to make everything about yourself? Can't you consider your sister's feelings for once?" The most infuriating part? Susan had recently returned her own exquisite dress, purchased by our parents for $2,000, using the money for makeup and a new phone case. She didn't even have any actual interviews arranged. She simply desired my dress because it was mine. Later, I overheard her on the phone with a friend, joking about how she was going to take care of her sister's attitude issues. What makes this situation different from past ones is my grandmother, 71. She anticipates photographs from the welcome celebration. She has always been more rational than my parents, but living in another state means she isn't fully acquainted with our family dynamics. She specifically asked me to send her pictures of my attire, expressing her pride that I had secured such an excellent position straight out of college. She even considered framing the photo for her living room. Presently, I'm confined to my room, trying to decide my next move. My hands are trembling as I write this. My sister continues her tantrum outside, shouting that I'm ruining her life and that she will make me regret my existence. I can hear her pounding on my door, threatening to break it down. My parents are sending me texts, instructing me to cease being selfish and to prioritize family harmony. They're threatening to ground me, yes, at 22, and confiscate my phone if I don't comply. Should I simply capitulate once more to preserve the peace? I understand that if I don't conform, they might physically force me to surrender the dress, or Susan might destroy it out of spite, as she has done with my possessions previously. But I'm utterly exhausted from being the family's scapegoat. This welcome celebration means the world to me. It's my initial stride towards independence, an opportunity to forge a life free from their destructive influence. I can't help but wonder if revealing the truth to my grandmother would make a difference. She has always been kind, but my parents have instilled in me the belief that contacting relatives would bring disgrace upon the family and that no one would believe me anyway. They've spent years convincing me that their treatment is normal and that I am responsible for not being more accommodating. I feel lost and uncertain what to do. Any advice would be profoundly appreciated. Am I unreasonable for wanting to keep my own outfit, which I purchased with my own funds? How do I navigate this scenario without inciting further conflict, yet without sacrificing something profoundly important to me? I feel on the verge of a panic attack just contemplating confronting them. The welcome celebration is tomorrow evening, so I must make a swift decision. I've invested so much effort to reach this point, and it's disheartening that my achievement is being overshadowed by my sister's demands and my parents' enabling behavior. The thought of appearing in inappropriate attire and potentially jeopardizing my professional reputation is deeply unsettling, as is the prospect of another violent confrontation with Susan. Thank you for reading this far. I've never disclosed the full extent of what transpires within our family to anyone, so writing it all down feels both terrifying and liberating. I constantly second-guess myself, wondering if I'm overreacting or if I'm delusional for believing this isn't typical. At this moment, any guidance or support would be immensely valuable. Update 1. First and foremost, I extend my gratitude to everyone who offered constructive comments on my initial post. A great deal has transpired in the last 24 hours, and everything has shifted. Yesterday, shortly after I posted, my grandmother telephoned to inquire about the welcome celebration and the photographs. When I began making excuses, she immediately sensed something was amiss. She insisted on bringing me out for lunch today, claiming she needed assistance with grocery shopping. My parents couldn't refuse without raising suspicion. At a quiet cafe, far from home, my grandmother took my hands and gently whispered, "Now tell me everything." Her compassionate tone shattered all my defenses. For the first time, I revealed the complete truth about our family dynamics. I recounted how Susan had sabotaged my school projects, shredded my college preparation books, and even bleached my prom dress. I unveiled years of secrets I had kept buried due to fear and shame. My grandmother listened intently, without interruption, but I observed her hands trembling with indignation. When I finished, she admitted that she and other relatives had harbored suspicions for years, but had been unable to confirm them, as my parents consistently presented a facade of a perfect family at gatherings. Right there at the cafe, she began contacting family members, my aunts, uncles, and family acquaintances. As she made these calls, my phone vibrated incessantly with texts from my own family. My mother sent increasingly agitated messages. "How can you fabricate lies about our family after everything we've done for you? You're making your sister cry again." Susan's messages commenced with guilt-tripping. "I can't believe you would do this to me. You know how sensitive I am." They quickly escalated to threats. "You had better tell Grandma you lied or I'll make you regret it. Remember your prom dress? This will be worse." My father joined in. "Your mother is having a breakdown because of you. Come home right now and rectify the mess you've made." But this time, their threats had a different impact on me. Each message served as validation for what I had just confided in my grandmother. While they were making these threats, my grandmother showed me scores of encouraging texts from family members who were finally recognizing the truth. The family response has been overwhelmingly supportive. My aunt apologized for believing Susan's false narratives about my alleged cruelty towards her. My uncle pledged to help me secure an apartment close to my workplace. Another aunt recommended therapy, and even offered to cover the costs. My grandmother made it unequivocally clear that she would no longer permit them to intimidate me. She contacted her lawyer and purchased me a brand new outfit for the welcome celebration, which is now safely stored at my aunt's house. Even family friends have started sharing their observations of Susan's troubling conduct at gatherings, including a child psychologist who had noted warning signs years ago. I am writing this from my aunt's residence. My parents are still sending me texts, threatening to cut me off financially, which is irrelevant, as I am self-supporting, and spreading malicious rumors about what an awful daughter I am. Susan's most recent threat was to jeopardize my employment, but it no longer instills fear in me. For the first time, I am not confronting their aggression alone. Tomorrow, I will attend the welcome reception in my new dress, with my aunt driving me there for safety. My grandmother has instructed me to document everything from now on, including Susan's threats. Thank you, Reddit, for allowing me to realize that what I had normalized is, in fact, not normal at all. I will provide another update when I can. Update 2. I never anticipated developments to escalate so rapidly following my last update. I am writing this from my grandmother's house, nursing a broken nose and grappling with conflicting emotions about what has occurred. The day after my welcome celebration, my grandmother surprised me with a new MacBook for work. She had it delivered to my aunt's place first, fully aware of Susan's history with my possessions. When I returned home to gather some clothing, I assumed my parents and Susan would be absent. I was mistaken. Susan was waiting in my room. She had learned about the laptop through social media, where my cousin had posted a congratulatory message about my new job, mentioning the gift. What transpired next still feels surreal. "So, you're accepting bribes from Grandma now?" Susan remarked, seated on my bed, scrolling through her phone, her voice unnervingly quiet. "Do you truly believe you can turn the entire family against us?" I attempted to quickly retrieve some clothing and leave, but she blocked the doorway. "Do you remember when we were children, and Mom always said that sharing is caring?" She smiled, but her eyes remained cold. "Grandma also needs to learn that lesson. Hand over the laptop." When I refused, stating its necessity for my new job, she seized my hair and slammed my face against the door frame. I heard a distinct crack and felt warm blood gush from my nose. The pain was excruciating, but what hurt more was my parents' reaction when they heard the commotion. They came upstairs, but instead of assisting me, my mother began screaming at me for provoking Susan. My father merely stood there, admonishing me that I should have known better than to flaunt my new gift in front of my sister. Fortunately, my aunt had insisted on waiting outside in her car. When she heard the shouting, she entered and found me bleeding. What followed was akin to a scene from a film. My aunt immediately contacted both the police and my grandmother. Within an hour, my grandmother arrived, accompanied by 2 additional aunts and an uncle. The police meticulously gathered statements and photographs of my injuries. Susan continually altered her account, initially claiming it was an accident, then that I had assaulted her first, and ultimately breaking down and yelling that I deserved it for stealing her family. The most astonishing development was not the police involvement, but the community's response. While I was at the hospital receiving treatment for my nose, word spread throughout our extended family and social networks. My parents' meticulously cultivated image of the ideal family utterly disintegrated. Their country club membership was quietly revoked. My mother's social club prohibited her from their weekly sessions. My father's golf partners were suddenly always too busy to play. Susan's few remaining acquaintances began relaying stories about her violent outbursts they had witnessed over time. My parents suffered immensely from this social ostracization. They had spent years projecting an image as perfect parents with 2 daughters, the sensitive artist Susan and the difficult me. Everyone now knows the truth, and they are incapable of handling it. They've been telephoning relatives relentlessly in an attempt to mitigate the damage. Their latest assertion is that I am experiencing a mental breakdown and fabricating stories about Susan, but no one believes it anymore, especially following the police report. Susan's reaction to the social repercussions has been particularly unsettling. She created several new social media profiles to harass me and disseminate misinformation about our family situation. She even showed up at my office, attempting to convince my new coworkers that I am unstable. Fortunately, my manager was already aware of the situation through my uncle, who works in human resources, and had security escort her away. My grandmother's lawyer assisted me in filing for a restraining order against Susan. The evidence was overwhelming. Years of documented incidents, witness accounts from family and friends, and now official police photographs of my injuries. I am currently residing at my grandmother's house, and the contrast with my previous existence is remarkable. No one here advises me to stop provoking my sister. No one insists that I surrender my possessions to maintain peace. I can leave my laptop on my desk without fear of it vanishing. My extended family's support continues to astonish me. Cousins I haven't conversed with in years have reached out to share their impressions about Susan's behavior at family gatherings. My aunt's acquaintance, a therapist, helped me understand that what I was enduring was continuous abuse, enabled by my parents. Meanwhile, my parents' social circle is shrinking. Their neighbors no longer pause to converse. My mother's social media posts about praying for her troubled daughters are met with silence or harsh criticism. My father's business associates have begun to distance themselves, concerned about his judgment after learning how he managed the family problem. Susan's employment prospects, which were already bleak, have become virtually non-existent in our community. Word travels quickly, and her violent outburst is now widely known. She blames me for wrecking her life, but more people now recognize her threats for what they truly are. I am still processing all that has transpired. My nose will heal, but witnessing my parents' carefully constructed facade crumble has been both satisfying and heartbreaking. They are confronting the natural consequences of their choices, and no amount of deception will help them this time. I will provide another update as I acquire more information to share. Thank you, everyone, for your encouragement. It helped me stand firm when Susan demanded the laptop, even though the repercussions were unpleasant. Sometimes things must worsen before they can improve. Update 3. Thank you for your continued support on my previous updates. It's been a chaotic few days, and I wanted to share some important new developments. My recovery is progressing well. The swelling in my nose has diminished, although the bruise currently appears more pronounced. The doctor believes there will be no permanent damage, which is reassuring given my future work presentations. Living at my grandmother's house has become a permanent arrangement, and the stark contrast with my former life is palpable. This morning, I accidentally knocked over a coffee mug and instinctively flinched, anticipating shouts and punishment. Instead, I received my grandmother's gentle concern and assistance with cleaning up. The community's reaction has been incredible. My mother's social media presence collapsed when a prayer request post about her troubled daughters completely backfired. Susan's former schoolmates flooded the comment section with their own accounts of her bullying and violent behavior. My father's business has suffered a significant blow. Several long-term clients have departed, and his partners convened an emergency meeting to assess his position after discovering his role in enabling Susan's actions. They are particularly concerned about his judgment in leadership capacities. Susan has been in a downward spiral since the restraining order. She created additional fake profiles to harass me and my supporters, but inadvertently posted from her main account, providing even more evidence for the court case. My aunt made a startling revelation. My parents had frequently refused to allow Susan to receive psychological care when she was younger. They were more preoccupied with preserving their ideal family image than with addressing the actual challenges. My parents' attempts to regain control backfired spectacularly. Their proposed family meal to clear the air was attended by only 2 distant relatives. My mother's best friend publicly unfriended her after viewing the police report images. My father was asked to step down from church leadership, and my mother's gardening group decided to continue without her. The most affirming moment occurred when my high school counselor contacted me, apologizing for not intervening more forcefully when she recognized indicators of abuse years ago. My parents had convinced her that my reclusive behavior was merely teenage rebellion, and Susan's violence was artistic temperament. My workplace has been exceptionally supportive. Following Susan's attempt to cause trouble, my manager implemented additional security measures, and my colleagues have been understanding of my predicament. My uncle published a public post yesterday, documenting years of disturbing behavior he had personally witnessed. His post went viral in our neighborhood, leading to further social consequences. My parents' reputation in the area has been shattered. My mother was removed from the Homeowners Association board, and they can't even go shopping without being trailed by whispers and glances. Susan's victim narrative is failing. She experienced a complete meltdown at our aunt's church when someone mentioned my name, confirming what everyone had already heard about her conduct. I am still adjusting to living without constant fear. My grandmother enrolled me in therapy, which has been instrumental in helping me comprehend how truly unusual my home life was. Our lawyer's response to my parents' latest cease and desist letter regarding spreading falsehoods included police report images and witness statements. The assistance from this community has been tremendous. You made me realize that I wasn't delusional for believing my situation was abnormal. I'll publish a final update once everything has settled down, but for now, I'm focusing on recuperating and establishing a new life. It's incredible how much energy you possess when you're not perpetually walking on eggshells. Update 4. It has been 6 months since my previous update, and I believe it is finally time to bring this chapter of my life to a close. Thank you to everyone who has followed my journey and provided such incredible support. I am currently thriving in my profession, having recently received my first promotion for successfully leading a major project. My team leader commended my meticulous attention to detail and calm approach to crisis management, skills I inadvertently honed while navigating my family's chaos for years. My personal life has undergone a complete transformation. I've moved into my own residence, but I still see my grandmother daily. That first night in my new place, I realized I could simply leave my possessions anywhere without the pervasive fear of them being stolen or destroyed. Simple things like having my own space and making decisions without apprehension now feel like precious gifts. Susan was recently diagnosed with a number of mental health issues after being compelled to undergo evaluation as part of an anger management program. She is currently in a specialized treatment facility, not by choice, but as a condition of her probation following another violent incident that did not involve me. My parents have faced severe penalties. My father's firm encouraged him to retire early after major clients expressed concerns about his judgment. My mother has become a social pariah in their neighborhood. Their attempts to join a new religious congregation were thwarted when members of their previous church revealed their background. They are in the process of selling their home and relocating to another state for a fresh start, but their reputation precedes them in various areas they've explored. The continuous cold shoulders and whispered remarks simply became too much for them to bear. The most unexpected development has been the ripple effect among our extended family. My story inspired 2 cousins to speak out about their own experiences with family abuse. It's as if breaking this veil of silence has empowered others to finally acknowledge their own hardships. Work has become my sanctuary. I recently developed a support system for new employees, and my manager praised my unique perspective on fostering inclusive environments. The irony is not lost on me that my past difficulties have become a source of professional strength. My parents made one more attempt at reconciliation last month, sending a meticulously worded letter through their new lawyer, suggesting family therapy. My grandmother's lawyer simply responded that all communication must go through legal channels and that I am not interested in reconciliation. The most rewarding shift has been in my interactions with my extended relatives. Sunday dinners at my grandmother's place have become a cherished ritual, filled with genuine laughter and joy. My aunts and uncles recount stories from my childhood that my parents either distorted or suppressed, allowing me to reclaim some of my personal history. I've started mentoring at a local youth center, working with teenagers from challenging home backgrounds. One girl recently told me that my story inspired her to speak up about her own sister's abuse. My grandmother has been my steadfast supporter, demonstrating what true family love looks like. Unconditional, yet with appropriate boundaries. Susan's restraining order is now permanent, legally prohibiting her from approaching my workplace or apartment. The community's response has served as a powerful lesson in social fairness. My parents and Susan faced no legal consequences other than the restraining order, but the social isolation and loss of status proved more effective than any court sentence. I'm finally building the life I've always desired but never believed possible. I have a successful career, a supportive social circle, and most importantly, peace of mind. I no longer flinch at sudden noises or apologize for my existence. This will be my final update. To anyone in a similar situation, it is never too late to speak up and reclaim your life. Sometimes the most challenging step is believing you deserve better. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so, and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more compelling real-life stories.